Thank you for joining me here at Kalkine. I'm Rose Jacobs and this is the Trending News Update. The latest data released by the Westpac-Melbourne Institute reveals that their consumer sentiment index fell by 1.3% in February. The index now stands lower at 100.8 points in February after being measured at 102.2 in January of 2022. Consumer sentiment index basically is a leading economic indicator that predicts changes in economic activity based on how likely consumers are to buy things, often in the span of the upcoming 12 months. Consumer sentiment numbers started to dwindle since the beginning of 2022, majorly due to the widespread uncertainty pertaining to the Omicron variant. However, disappointing figures in February highlight the fact that inflationary pressures have seeped into household spending, urging consumers to take a break from their buying habits. Let's have a closer look at the insights, and starting with an understanding of the inflationary pressures that lurk in the backdrop. Omicron-related disruptions have created elevated pressure on finances, making the situation precarious for households. The cost of raw materials has notably increased, reducing the profit margins for businesses. Increasing raw material costs faced by businesses have translated into rising prices for the economy. Meanwhile, housing and building-related costs have also risen significantly, directly affecting consumers' expectations. The report by Westpac further highlighted that the finances versus a year ago sub-index was weaker for younger age groups, renters, retirees and those on very low incomes. All those categories tend to be more sensitive to price changes, specifically for the consumer staple goods. The finances versus a year ago sub-index declined by 9.2% in February. Let's now understand what the interest rate hike expectations are. Given the ongoing economic scenario, speculations are rife that the Reserve Bank of Australia could raise interest rates by the end of 2022. The recent data is also in line with these expectations, as the proportion of respondents expecting a mortgage rate hike over the next 12 months rose steeply from 55% in January to 66% in February. This effectively translated into every 1 in 4 consumers believing that interest rates will rise by over 1 percentage point. Interest rate hike expectations rather have been dominating the market amidst strong labour market conditions. Overall, it is hard to ascertain the complete effects of an interest rate hike, such as at an early age. However, experts are hopeful that a rate hike could not arise before August of this year. Lastly, let's look at the home buyers' expectations. The Westpac-Melbourne Institute Index of House Price Expectations recovered 8.7% in February, with rising expectations across all states. Home buyers' expectations for the coming months are majorly stemming from 2 factors, namely interest rate hikes and inflationary pressures. A mix of these factors presents a relatively undesirable outlook for property buyers, as evident in the Time to Buy a Dwelling Index, which fell 2.4% during the month. Following months might bring some affordability back into the market, given a slowdown in property prices over recent months. However, much depends on how the Omicron wave will take shape, given the uncertainty around the termination of the new virus outbreak. Well, to share these comments, the report from Westpac showed that the components of the index that measure respondents' assessments of their finances deteriorated in February. However, the economy-related components brought some optimism, with the economy next 12 months sub-index increasing by 2.4% and the economy next 5 years sub-index rising by 1.5%. And that's it for the latest trending news. I'm Rose Jacobs. Thanks for joining me.